I think no one knows what to call me. I want to hear everyone else's interpretation of it. I have my meaning. I keep it to myself. It's very important that the album and the songs have stories to them. They have to.
And we're rolling. Demsky, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. How are you doing?
Good. That show last week was killer, by the way.
Thank you very much.
That was fun. And I didn't even know there was like a club like that within walking distance to my place.
Yeah, it's really, that's the thing about Japan is you never know where the venue's going to pop up. So when you do find those gems in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of not in the middle of nowhere, but, well, it is, but I'm sure many people hang out in that area. But for me, I'm never in that area.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Good area, though. So I've been there. There used to be a yoga studio there in the area before COVID, and then they shut down and went online. But actually, the instructor at that studio was on the podcast, too.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Great.
So DJ. You're a DJ and you make awesome music. And I thought I was getting prepared for the show. I went to your SoundCloud.
Yeah.
And I'll put a link in the description. I went to your SoundCloud and listened to the album that came up. Mm-hmm. Come to find out I was listening to older stuff.
All right.
Is that right?
Yeah. Which album was that?
That was the one that has... now I need to bring it over here. Just a second. I just worked on a bunch of litigation work all day today too, so my brain's kind of fried.
No problem. I'm assuming the with Trickle Down and Strut.
Yes, that was it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you got it. Yeah. So, I guess now it's about 2 years old, almost 2 years old, and I'll have a new album coming out probably later on this year, but not too sure. I'm just now kind of planning everything.
Okay, yeah. Oops. So later when this show gets popular and it starts making money, I'll have like my own researcher there. But for now, it's just me. So tell me about The World.
Tell me about
that's
The
what
World.
I was listening to. And I love Trickle Down. Airport was good, but I love Strut.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Those are great tracks. So how'd you get into being a DJ?
Well, it's not it's funny because I don't know I don't know if I can call myself a DJ fully, right?
Okay.
Because it's my tracks. I'm kind of mixing them, you're right.
Okay.
But I am trying to manipulate the tracks live on stage at the same time, so a lot of effects and a lot of different transitions. So,
okay.
But how did I get into this?
Into music. How'd you get into performing?
Oh, into performing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been playing since I was 16. So, my friends all played music, and originally I'm a bass player.
Okay.
Yeah, I started as a bass player. Still am a bass player, and
one behind you there. There's Ibanez back there. Yeah.
There you go. And it's it's just a thing you do with your friends. It's just like no matter what your crew is, if your crew was into soccer or into football, that's what you do. So my friends were into music, got involved, and then when I got to university, it got actually pretty serious. And we all went to university in Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and that was our touring circuit for a good couple years, and did quite well, and ended up playing across Canada and New York, Boston, northeast of the States. And it was incredible. And by about 12 years ago, I kind of got into like all this music software. And then I was like, got into this music software, and I decided to create my own like solo album. And then just started creating beats. There was no intention of creating this sound or that sound. It was just like, I'm going to create whatever comes to my head and write it down. And it turned out to be kind of this electronic kind of pop songwriter, pop kind of stuff. And eventually and mainly because had the lack of equipment, I went into instrumental ambient trip hop, so it naturally just formed that way.
Awesome. Hang on just a second. I need to shut the fan off.
Yeah, go for it.
So it doesn't sound like we're on an airplane. And we're back.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. I meant to shut the fan off before we started, so it doesn't sound like we're on an airplane. I made a mistake one time. I was interviewing a guest, and we were talking about cybersecurity, and the conversation was so like fascinating. I could hear something in the background, and it was I can't remember because I listen to podcasts all the time.
Yeah.
And I'll listen to like a 3-hour podcast.
Yeah.
And maybe I had it in my pocket and it started playing.
Yeah.
Because I could hear him and me, and we're in a really quiet place.
Yeah.
But I could hear somebody else in the background. And I thought, well, this doesn't have a radio receiver. Like, why am I hearing the radio?
Yeah.
And then when the podcast got over, Spotify starts playing music automatically. And now I'm hearing music. I'm like, and I should have just stopped and said, hey, what's that sound? You know? Stop. Hey, what's that sound? Sorry. Sorry for the sidetrack there.
No problem.
You went around Toronto, went around Canada, ended up getting into making your own beats. And your own sounds.
Yeah. So, and just a friend helped me out. And then that was probably 2 years before I came to Japan, and then moved over here with the intention of just like developing my music and see what I can do from scratch. And I ended up playing bass for this drummer called Tomi Wealth, where Japanese drummer, kind of like DJ Shadow, DJ Crush, kind of that kind of sound, and did really well. Got invited to play in Europe a couple times and played it all over Japan, and did that for 5 years and I was kind of like this bass session player and played for all these different artists, and got very fortunate and played Asagiri Jam and some pretty big festivals and beautiful venues. And then at a certain point, and this happened about almost 4 years ago, you know, I've been writing and creating all this ambient music. And I'm like, you know what? Can I actually play this live? I was kind of curious, and I'm like, let's see what I can do. And then I just got like some simple equipment, set it up, and 4 years later, I've played in Europe because I kept all those contacts, really good people. Played all over Japan, going back to Malaysia again this year, and playing Taiwan for the first time this month.
I've seen is it Facebook or Instagram? I think I follow you on both, and I've seen your tour schedule. So I'll make sure and share that as well.
Yeah. Both. I try to update both.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think I took over 20 pictures of the show last week.
Yeah.
And shared those with you. Yeah. I couldn't share the videos in the album though. There's, we use Line in Japan.
Yeah.
And you can create an album, and instead of sending them by message, you put them in an album, right? And so I did that with the pictures.
Yes.
But I couldn't share the videos. I still have those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I didn't. I use my phone a lot for filming, YouTube and stuff. And we should talk later about maybe using some music for YouTube.
Sure.
To collaborate on that. But before I forget, I don't take full videos of full songs because there's a temptation to post the song, right? And being I'm an American trained lawyer, and I'm so conscious of copyrights that, my first channel, I made all my own music.
Yeah.
And then come to find out there's like free, copyright free. Or YouTube has their own library. Yeah. You can just use that song and then you don't get a copyright strike. So, but I'm really conscious of copyrights, and I don't want to,
Yeah, I should be more conscious about it actually. But no, I have this one new track that's going to come out, and I'm quite proud of it. Like I know something is well written when I can just like it just comes out naturally. I don't know, like the flow, the structure makes a lot of sense. Yep. And my the track Strut is one of those tracks. So originally it wasn't even supposed to be on that album, but it naturally just came out. I'm like, I really like this groove, and This new one,
did have, sorry, back to Strut. It had
Yeah.
kind of like this feel. It was different.
yeah,
It's really different. It almost like it comes from another place almost. I was going to ask you about the creative process because I write music too, but
yeah,
yeah, Strut has a really good feel to it. And I was listening to it while I was working today
all right.
before you came over. And like you said, those things that kind of come to you, right?
Yeah.
What's your creative process?
It's really so it's there is none really. Yeah, and
I get it.
You know what? It's like recently because I'm using Ableton, and
Okay.
Ableton is so it's such a heavy program. Like there's so many plugins, there's so many
Okay.
sounds you can manipulate, there's so many techniques, and it's too much and it's overwhelming. So you really have to approach a program like that sparingly. Like take the ones and pick your go-tos and manipulate and really craft those to make it your own. So the thing is, recently when I create tracks, it's really me watching a tutorial about like a plugin or a way to manipulate a thing, and then I'm just playing around and toying with it and recording it in different ways,
Okay.
and then it ends up being something beautiful from that. So it actually comes from just me learning about Ableton, and then I build it. And I think one of the first things after like a sound or a melody is usually the drums, because I want my tracks to be very drum heavy and kind of has more of that hip hop oriented beat to it, and that really drives it. And then I'll probably follow that up with a bass.
Okay.
Just because I have that melody, I got the drums. Now I need that bridge that brings it all together. So it's really just that. And, there's no, again, it's whatever you're feeling at that time
Yeah.
or whatever comes out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my creative process. A lot of times it starts with an idea, or I'll just be sitting around fooling around on the guitar, and I use this Gibson behind us here, and that was a gift from a relative, and he got that years ago and never used it. He was going to learn how to play guitar, and he had it appraised, and he told me how much he could have sold it for. I was like, you could have bought a car.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but you play guitar. I want you to have it. I was just blown away.
Yeah.
And the sound. I mean, I was one of those guys because I didn't grow up with a lot of money, and I thought, well, a car's a car, right? I mean, a Corolla, Maybach, what's the only difference is how much you spend, right?
Yeah.
Not true.
Well, it's nice when you meet people that where they look at the value of something different, right? Like they put sentimental value over, an actual like dollar sign, you know? And, I have some friends that are quite well off. They have been their whole lives, and they're very modest or very humble.
Yeah.
They don't show off anything. And, those are the people you got to cherish.
Yeah.
The ones that, they see more value in you than,
Yes.
than like,
Yes.
man, I can buy a boat with this
Yep.
or something. So
Yeah.
I always appreciate that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. As we were walking through the neighborhood, we were talking about the different houses here.
Yeah.
And I intentionally moved into a good neighborhood, and every once in a while you'll see the blue license plate that has the character for foreign dignitary.
Yeah.
And there's some really wealthy people around here, but like most neighborhoods in Tokyo, you have like from the shoebox to the 10-room mansion on the same street. And you can't always tell which is which from the outside, right? But I met some really wealthy people, and like I said, not growing up rich or not growing up wealthy. And I even worked through like junior high and high school. And I now I really value that experience. I'm really glad I did, because I know how to work. But when I first met wealthy people, and I was starstruck, I met a bunch of musicians as they're coming through. and I embarrassed myself. I walked up to a very, very famous person. I'm not going to say, but maybe I will someday. But I walked up to a really famous person, and I said, "Oh, by the way, what's your name?" And everybody looked at me like, "Oh, you're such a jerk," you know. So I was starstruck. And then it was the same thing with wealthy people. I was like, "Wow, what a big house! Wow, what a nice car!" And it changed for me one time when there was a guy, and I think he was a CEO or something, and he was showing me his stereo. And I realized like the sound was more important to him, and the music, the sentimental value of the music he grew up with. He said, "Oh, when I was a kid, we listened to this on a tape player, but now I can listen to it with this. I don't know how many tens of thousands of dollars he spent on this stereo." And it changed for me. The thought came to me, and I looked. And I said, "Wow, you put a lot of thought into this system, huh?" And he looked at me. He said, "Yeah, I did." And to him, that was a much bigger compliment because he had millions of dollars. It was a much bigger compliment than saying, "This looks really expensive."
Yeah.
It was to say, you put a lot of thought into this because he had.
Yeah.
And so I guess I didn't know early on how to talk to famous or wealthy people. I was starstruck and, oh, you're in a different, stratosphere than me. So now as we get older, it's just easier to treat people as people because
I think so.
They have the same worries.
I think they would value that too as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just listening to Jorge Masvidal, the UFC fighter. And he said he can tell the difference between a fan, a real fan, and a casual fan by the way they approach. They'll say like, "Oh, that when you fought Nate Diaz, the first and second round were really good." But if they say like, "Oh yeah, you're the fighter, right?"
Yeah.
So it's just, and I listened to Joe Rogan. He talks about people coming up to him and say, "Can we get a picture?" And he just took a bite of steak, yeah, maybe after dinner, And so I think, and being foreigners here in Japan, I don't like to be treated like an oddity,
Yeah, it's gonna happen, unfortunately, but it's the nature of the game, right? You're gonna get the exact same questions every single time when you meet someone, like, where are you from? How long have you been here?
Do you eat natto?
Yeah. So unfortunately, that's the longer we're here, so that's embedded into our DNA now.
It is. So I think, and that's not celebrity. It's just being a foreigner in a homogeneous country, but being treated like that, getting the same questions every time. Where are you from? What do you do? Why'd you come to Japan? Can you eat natto? Can you use chopsticks? Can you read Japanese? Blah, blah, blah. It kind of taught me the correct way to talk to a celebrity, right? It's like, "Hey, how's it going? Are you enjoying Tokyo?"
Yeah.
Because and then after I learned how to talk to rich and famous people, I met a few where I was able to just act like a normal person.
Yeah.
And found out, oh, this guy has kids, and oh, he lives in LA and he shops at the same Whole Foods, that I used to shop when I lived in LA, and to ask them like, "Hey, how are you enjoying Tokyo? And do you guys get to do anything after the show?" Because shows end early here, right? And come to find out they don't get to do a lot. When you're traveling, you don't get to do a lot when you're performing. So
definitely.
But so one guy told me, he's like, "Yeah, I really wanted to go to this place, but it's just not going to happen." And so I was supposed to go to the show like the next day. So I went to that place and got a souvenir for each of his kids, and then went to see the show and presented him with this. He's like, "That's the coolest gift anybody's ever given me." And I say, "You told me you have 2 kids and you wanted to go to this place, but you can't because of time. So, hey, take these back to your kids." And he's like, "Wow, thank you." And so what I'm trying to say is like, just treat people like people, right?
100%.
Like maybe somebody I went to high school with, or my cousin, my uncle,
The small little things, they go a long way.
They really do.
Yeah.
They really do. So back to the creative process. And what's the software again?
Ableton.
Okay. I've never used Ableton. The farthest I've got is GarageBand.
It's not that far. It's like, I started with Logic with my computer, and that was great. And then when I decided to go to a live setting, Ableton Live was the right choice. And it's just, I'm able to manipulate it. I'm able to, create my own set list much easier. And that's a very big thing. Like, I really want to change. I played a lot in the jam band hippie circuit.
Yep.
And I really love the idea of getting people to guess what the set is. So, the first 3 years, essentially, I was just building my repertoire, right? Like all my songs. I got about 20 now I can play, and I can really play around and have fun with the set list and let things sit and keep it just interesting for people that are interested in my music. So,
and interesting for you too.
Yeah, right? And it's like I was explaining this to a musician friend about how I want a song like Trickle Down or I want it to experience. It's like a baby. I want it to experience it in the 4th position in a set list, or the last position in a set list, or the first, because the character is going to change throughout the night. And it's going to have a different role, and I'm going to have to play it differently.
Yeah.
In a certain way. So it's going to develop the song even more just by playing it in a different spot. So like, Strut is usually, it's a pretty big, heavy, nice, heavy song. It's always could be like it's like a baseball lineup. It's like a grand slam hitter.
Yeah.
But I want it to experience. It's like, no, I want you to start the show. But if I start that at the beginning, that means I have to really elevate everything else. Yeah. To a certain point. So I like the challenges of that and building these set lists.
That's more a cerebral approach. Yeah. So when I was playing live, I played a bunch in Tokyo. We used to play in Yoyogi Park.
Oh, nice.
And they used to shut off the street.
Yeah.
And the bands would line up, and you'd be next to a band that had a massive PA system, and we had a generator.
Yeah.
So I'd be there with my guitar, and we had a really good bass player and singer and drummer. And we'd be right next to a band that was blasting, their own song. And we were playing, and somebody told me, and I forget who did, but they knew what they were talking about. So as a live show, they said start with your second best song. And then kind of alternate, like if you play ballads, like play a ballad and then a hard driving song, a ballad and a hard driving song, end with your best song, leaving wanting more. So, and we went through the struggles of, what's our best song, and depending on the venue, what song's going to be received better, right?
Yeah, totally.
Because that's, and the mood of the crowd, and we even, if you see these live shows, oh boy, who sings "Living in America"? It's right on the tip of my tongue.
James Brown.
James Brown. If you see him, and he'll tell the band like, "Give me 3," and they go boom, boom, boom. "Give me 4," boom, 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 boom. What people don't realize is they practice that, right?
Yeah.
They practice that like crazy. And so when he does something crazy like "Give me 21," and then the whole band hits 21 beats perfectly, he's not just making it up as he goes along. But I worked with a guy one time who thought that you could just direct the band like an orchestra. And so the drummer's ready to play "Born to Be Wild." And the singer gets in his idea, no, we're going to play "You Really Got Me." And it's like, okay, next song is "You Really Got Me." And then the drummer starts playing "Born to Be Wild." And he's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, well, the set list was.
Yeah, got it.
So I worked with a guy who thought he could just like change things up, off the top of his head.
Yeah.
And just like add an extra verse.
Yeah.
No, you don't do that, And, but we went through that, but sometimes changing the set list up, because you see the crowd's really going for it.
Yeah.
And I play lead guitar, and I idolized Van Halen and Steve Vai and Satriani and these guys. And I tried to emulate them, and a lot of fast licks and stuff. And so if that's really getting the crowd going, we'd put in another one next.
Yeah.
So, okay, we got to keep driving hard.
You have to listen. You have to listen to your crowd. So it's the so when I create these sets, I make them actually much larger than they should be. But it's exactly that. You have to listen to the crowd, and it's like, I got to skip this one now. I should move on to this. I'm gonna actually go back to this, and that's the beautiful thing about the program, and about like kind of I guess the way I'm kind of making my setup is I want to be able to adapt on the fly.
Yeah.
And I have a good friend in Ehime.
Okay.
And he's looking to switch over to Ableton because he's pretty much. I brought him actually to Canada to play Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and
Okay.
he played the same set every single time, right? And it's very good. There is something to be said about that. At the same time, it's like a nice, well rehearsed set is great, but he's now I think gotten to the point where he needs to make it fresh for himself, and that freshness is gonna stand out to the audience as well. So he's getting there, you know.
Good. I've heard that some of these big bands they get really famous, not a one-hit wonder, but a lot of good albums. But every time they play, the Eagles have to play Hotel California.
Yeah, of course.
And there are some people that don't want to do that anymore. In fact, I saw one guy and I asked him to play his famous song and he said no.
Yeah.
and
Neil Young is like that.
Oh, really?
Neil Young is very much he wants to play what he wants to play, and he's got the song list for it, the repertoire for it. So
yeah,
it's some people do that, and I respect that move always. They want to keep it. They want to be true to what they feel that day.
Yeah. Well, Neil Young is one of those songwriters too who's written for everybody too.
Yeah.
He's written Elvis Costello songs or Elvis Costello covered his songs, you know. And if you look through album credits, which you don't see on iTunes or Spotify, but remember the days when you get an album and there was almost kind of like a ritual of opening up the album and
of course.
Reading the lyrics and looking at the pictures, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Yeah.
And memorizing the lyrics and all that. If you look at those albums, Neil Young is on a lot of albums. A lot of albums.
But it's interesting, the keeping a song fresh. Like I think to Pearl Jam, and the reason why is because Pearl Jam's they've been around forever. They've had to play the same songs over and over again.
Yeah.
Different show like Jeremy or Alive.
Okay.
And there's Even Flow, which is one of their biggest tracks.
Okay.
And recently that became a very, very popular meme on TikTok.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a Tony Hawk skateboarding.
Yeah.
So it's Jesus skateboarding to Even Flow.
Oh no.
And everyone's posting. It's like a constant meme. And my brother just gets that algorithm all the time. He only gets Jesus like hardcore skating to Even Flow, and it's
my gosh.
absolutely incredible. And because of it, it's because TikTok is such a young crowd.
Yeah.
They got all these new fans that are just absolutely loving it. And I always forget the band name. The band that sings the song Dreams.
Okay.
What's it? It's like very, it's like thunder only happens when it's rain.
Oh my gosh.
Why am I always Fleetwood Mac?
Fleetwood Mac. Thank you.
So the same thing happened to them. There was a meme where a guy's on a skateboard as well, but he's drinking ocean spray cranberry juice.
Yes.
And then he was just lip syncing to Dreams, and the song blew up.
Oh my gosh!
It just had this second round of success, and
wow.
So now it becomes. I wonder what Pearl Jam's new tour is like.
Oh yeah.
When they play Even Flow, if they're like they have these young fans waiting for
they're
that
dying
song.
to hear that song. Yeah.
They're dying to hear and envision Jesus ripping it on a skateboard.
They're gonna have to make it a multimedia show.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be incredible.
You know, that happened to, speaking of Canadian rockers, Tal Bachman. She's So High,
Yeah.
right? He's a really cool dude. I've met him in real life. Really cool dude, just down to earth. And I met his dad, Randy. They were over here, and really, really both really cool. And funny story, somebody, they were playing just Bachman and Bachman. And they do Facebook Live and stuff. And somebody said, play the Sukiyaki song, and nobody knew the lyrics, but I remembered the English lyrics. And so I said, no, I know the lyrics. And so I sang the English lyrics, and they played the chords, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty fun. I mean, to play with a legend.
Yeah.
I mean, Randy Bachman's a legend.
Yeah.
Right. And after we were done, Randy looked at me and said, I never heard that version before. And I thought, okay, that could be taken one of two ways.
Yeah.
That was so bad, I've never heard it sung like that before.
Yeah.
Or I'd never heard the English before.
Yeah.
But he was such a down-to-earth dude. I just thought, oh, he means that he enjoyed it, And we had a lot of fun. But Tal Bachman's She's So High got a second win because if you remember, like Pop Idol, American Idol, the winner of, it was a Norwegian, sang She's So High.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that song went, I don't know if it went hit number one, but it went up the charts. And so that song had like a resurgence. I want to say 10 years after it was a hit, so wow. But so back to the creative process. So
Yeah.
here's a funny thing. So like I said, I play acoustic guitar, and I'm so glad to hear you played bass for years, because I've had this thing, and it's I know it's a mental block for me, is that, and it's a weird thing. I should probably like discard this bad idea, but I didn't think of DJs as musicians,
Well,
and there's probably an argument to be made either way,
yeah.
But knowing you play bass and you make ambient music,
Yeah.
so it's just, I didn't know what to call you, like DJ, performer,
Yeah, I think no one knows what to call me.
and that's fun. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's like, I guess I'm a DJ in the sense that I'm mixing my own tracks,
Okay.
but it's all, I don't know what sounds I'm going to produce that day and every time, right? So, a DJ is going to be pretty much set, same rhythm, tempo.
Yeah.
Not much manipulation. It's like A to B to C to D,
Yep.
Yeah, it's I want to take electronic music and then amalgamate it with the love I have for this jam band music, and where it's like you don't know what's going to happen, what sounds are going to come out of it, like I'm playing live synth on stage. I don't know what, but I might play simple pad chords or arpeggiate it. I can do manipulate in many different ways. I want it to always feel different. So if I could, I would probably record all my shows live and then release it. I do, sometimes I do that. I do a couple of sets. But, yeah. So it's, it's a funny new world for me. It's not,
great.
Yeah. And eventually I am going to incorporate my bass into it. I just need to get a better handle on the electronic side. But the bass will be there eventually.
I'm a huge fan of bands who play their own instruments. Like I said, I grew up with Van Halen, the Eagles, and they all play, Glenn Frey and, Joe Walsh. They play their own instruments, I was disappointed to find out a lot of live bands, even the really, really good musicians who make amazing studio albums, will use like backing tracks. And I draw the line in, and I don't have a touring band, so this is coming out of, somebody who's not doing it, criticizing from outside. I think as far as I would go would be to set up my pedal board for guitar so that it goes from like a clean sound to a grunge sound to a solo sound or something on its own. So you don't have to run back and hit the pedal and then, because that's a pain. If you anybody who played with, live music, it's a lot of work. And every once in a while you hit the wrong pedal.
Of course. Yeah, it's like, I think the biggest pet peeve, I guess, with these backing track people is it's so sterile, and they're not going to really change. They can't change it because they're playing to that track.
Yep.
So that, and another thing that just drives me absolutely nuts watching a live band is, unfortunately, you see it a lot in Japan, is people playing with sheet music on stage.
Oh no.
And a lot of people do that, and you watch these really big Japanese artists and their supporting band all have sheet music on stage.
Wow.
And I've argued this with many people before. It's like, you're killing all the soul. Like, no one's listening to each other because they're too busy playing the notes. And I can't stand it.
Well, and that's the thing is like, so, growing up listening to hard rock is the interplay between the guitar and the singer, the call and response, right? And then the drummer looking at the bass player and the drummer making eye contact and getting into that groove, and then the guitar sitting above that, and then the singer above the guitar. And it's like, you got to have that solid rhythm section and somebody who knows how to play guitar, somebody who's actually singing live rather than like a Saturday Night Live, Was it Ashley Simpson? I don't mean to disparage her. She started the wrong song.
Oh, I don't know.
It was Saturday Night Live. Like, this is 20 years ago, I think. And she had a budding career as a singer.
Yeah.
And went on Saturday Night Live, and she started singing the wrong song, and the backing track had the vocals.
Yeah.
And the show fell apart, and her career, I think, kind of stopped there. So.
Yeah.
But props for her for getting on Saturday Night Live. I never made it that far.
For sure.
But have you ever had, and here's why I'm asking, is every once in a while, I'll be working on a song, and I have one song called How It Goes. It's a sad song about a couple that broke up during COVID.
Okay.
They ended up, they were living together. They the lockdown started, and they started spending more time together. And he was a worthless SOB, and she was very ambitious and figured out like, this is not going anywhere. And so she just kind of moved out one day while he was at work, and so it's written from the perspective of the loser ex-boyfriend.
Okay.
He's like, I guess that's how it goes.
That's cool.
She bailed, and like, what could I have done? But I put two solos in there. One is the solo in the middle, and one is the outro that kind of tapers, kind of, what do you call that when it fades?
Yeah, it fades.
I'm such a musician, I don't even know what fade. But I recorded two solos, and I wanted to hear them back and see which one was better. Maybe I could like splice them together. Yeah. Take the best of the two. And I accidentally unmuted both of them.
Yeah.
And there was a call and response there.
Yeah.
That was so freaking cool. And then one part where there's a harmony and it resolves. And I end up playing the same lick at the end.
Yeah.
And it was so perfect. I kept it.
Yeah.
But if you listen to one part, it sucks. You listen to the other solo, it sucks. But the two together are freaking amazing. Another time I did a solo for a song called Best Friend. And I had been on a podcast with two guys who were like really close. Shout out to Get in the Corner with Yuck Nasty. I was on their podcast one time, and these two guys are best friends. And after I got off the show, I wrote a song called Best Friend for these guys, and then sent it to them, and they liked it. But I had been watching an interview with Steve Vai. He talks about doubling the guitar, and he's so talented. He can do a solo and then go back and then do the same exact solo again. And I'm so chaotic. I'm just like, I can't do that, But I thought, well, what I can do is I can duplicate that. And I so I was trying to put some echo and reverb and some, little bit of chorus on it, and I put that on the second track, and then listened back to it, and it sounded like a Joe Walsh guitar solo, and it ended up being so cool. And people were like, dude, how'd you come up with that? And I'm like, it was a mistake.
Yeah, beautiful mistakes.
And do you ever have beautiful mistakes like that, or?
Always. Oh, well, before I release anything, I play the tracks live. So it's kind of like a comedy in that sense, where it's like you want to see what bombs and what people connect with.
Yeah.
And that's I always do that. And I'll play it multiple times, and I'll try different arrangements and different feels and different sounds, and it slowly gets crafted with the audience in some ways. So I did the show before Moon Romantic, the one you saw last week. I played this place called Sakura Dai Pool.
Okay.
Very unique venue, very cool.
Does it actually have a pool?
No pool. Pool. Very good sound.
Okay.
Very it's in the basement, like B2. This guy does metal art crafting, so you have all these crazy metal art creatures all over the venue. It was a really twisted place and really cool. And I tested out kind of this new song that same thing. It was created by me just learning a plugin or a tool, and I tested it out and it killed. I actually put it in as one of the last tracks. I think it was like the second or third last track, and it got everyone really moving.
Nice.
It's really good. Haven't touched it for a while, which is good. I want to let it sit, come back to it with fresh ears, and then start cleaning it up and seeing what else I can add to it or take away from it. But I treat it in some ways like comedy. It's like I want to see what bombs, and I want to see what people are just loving, and then make it part of my own. So I did 2 new tracks. I'm gonna do probably maybe the next show I'll do 1 new one.
Okay.
And just play around, see what the audience says, because they're gonna tell me. And it's the same thing. They call me DJ, so I guess I'm a DJ. It's like I'll listen to them more than me.
Yeah.
Because if I have a hard time, everyone says, "Oh, I am, shoegaze," or "I'm this." But if they're wrong, it's just they sound stupid. So, and I don't know what my sound was, but everyone said ambient and trip hop. So I'm like, I'll just believe them.
Trip hop, okay.
I'll just
Not hip hop,
believe.
yeah. Well, the interesting thing is, so for the younger members listening, DJ comes from disc jockey.
Yeah.
And that used to be the host on the radio.
Yeah.
Because the promoters would come to them and bring them a record.
Yeah.
And say, play this. And then the artist would go around and do the shows, the circuit, and say, hey, here's David Lee Roth, and here's their new single, from Van Halen, whatever. And they would play the song, and a vinyl record is a disc, and they would be a jockey, I don't know why they came up with jockey, but then that got shortened to DJ.
Yeah.
And so when scratching and mixing and stuff became a thing, those guys were called DJs. Mm-hmm. And now anybody who's got electronics on the stage is kind of sometimes called a DJ, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've heard there's electronic artists, but people would assume I play that I'm a DJ. I don't know how to phrase it.
Okay.
It's kind of a new world of labeling musicians.
Well, I kind of like it because people listen to my music, they don't know how to label it.
Yeah.
And I've heard my music described in 100 different ways.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people where all my songs have a meaning.
Yeah.
And I said that one is about a couple that broke up during COVID.
Yeah.
I wrote a song for my father after he passed away.
Yeah.
But I don't tell people.
Yeah.
I mean, I do say, hey, I wrote this for my dad, whatever.
Yeah.
but I don't tell people what it's supposed to mean,
Yeah.
because when they listen to it, it's going to have meaning for them.
Yeah.
And to me, that's more important.
No,
Right.
that's the concept behind that Tell Me About the World. Yeah, because there's, yeah, I want to hear everyone else's interpretation of it. I have my meaning. I keep it to myself.
Yeah.
But and I it's very important that the album and the songs have stories to them. They have to. But that album in particular is like, it was very important for us to listen because, as you know, the world is so divided, and no one listens. No one listens to each other. So I really wanted to emphasize that. And there's a book called Tribe. Maybe you know it, by Sebastian Junger. Right?
Okay, I just know the title.
Yeah. So it's not even a great quote. Yeah, but it was about, he was pretty much a military guy or an army guy.
Okay.
Comes back to the States and he lost that sense of community, right? And which seems like everyone just seems so separated and no one's working together and all that. And he sat down with his brother-in-law, I believe, brother-in-law or uncle. I think it was his brother-in-law. And he said, I just want to, drink cold coffee and please just tell me about the world. Right. And that was it. And that really stuck out to me.
Wow.
And then during the COVID time, I wrote Cold Coffee.
Okay.
And
I did listen to that.
Yeah. And
I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. And essentially the main purpose behind that was just, I was so into my music at that time that my coffee went cold. So it's not like an iced coffee. It's a crap.
It's a cold coffee.
It's cold coffee from just doing the things you love, right? And then when you actually when I read that quote, drink cold coffee and please tell me about the world, I'm like, that was the single, and then I released this EP after, and they're kind of always been connected, and I've always wanted to be an open interpretation. So even the music video, when I had my friends shave like my facial hair and my head.
Interesting video.
Yeah. So the concept is like full trust in them. I trust you. I'll listen to whatever you want me to do. And it was the same concept behind it. So it's like, that's I want to be a good listener and listen to everyone else's interpretation of it. Same with the album art. It's like whatever she wanted to do. She had a hard, her name's Azusa Sekiguchi. She had a hard time understanding that she has freedom in creating art. I'm like, yeah, you can do it. It's like, because the concept is, I want to know your interpretation. And then she gave me a full breakdown of what she felt for each track. And she did a fantastic job. And she knocked it out of the park.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think Elon Musk has a quote, and I took a screen grab of him saying it. Is it wouldn't help to have a little more love in the world?
Yeah.
He said that a couple of times. He was on Joe Rogan. Yeah. And he had that clove cigarette.
Yeah.
and he said, yeah, it may sound trite, but love is the answer.
Yeah.
And from, the richest man in the world saying that, like, maybe he's got a point.
Yeah.
But to put a timestamp in it, Trump just got indicted.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about it, but just to let people know where we are in history, Ukraine and Russia have been at war for a year.
Yeah.
This is interesting. This is one of the first times in history that most Americans know the name of the Canadian Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Justin Trudeau. And a lot of things are happening in the world, Somebody sent me this the other day, or actually, maybe 6-8 months ago, is in Japan. Japan's famous for trains being on time, but there was a delay, and on the train there's a display. It's a really nice TV screen. It's not like the the subway in New York where there's like an LED
Yeah.
thing coming by, but really nice display, and they'll show like TV commercials and stuff. But when there's a delay, they'll put a reason up there. And, you know, maybe they'll say like, you know, debris on tracks or, you know, car accident or something. The reason for the delay was missile.
Oh, really?
North Korea had shot a missile over Japan.
Wow.
And so they stopped the trains like for safety and like, okay, if this hits, what do we do, you know? And, you know, Japan's been anti-war for, what, 8 decades. But we got this guy launching missiles over, you know, the Northern Islands. And you know, China and Russia just, you know, put together a deal to cooperate. And massive, major world economic powers are getting off the petrodollar.
Yeah.
And so things are really changing. Prime Minister Abe was shot. Like, wasn't that like a year ago or something?
Yeah, it was
It's
about a year
while
ago. Yeah.
So it's been a really wild couple years. And so tell me about the world. Like,
Yeah.
I think this is one of the benefits of having children,
Yeah.
is that they don't worry about this stuff, right? Like, you know, and travel's so cool. Sorry, I'm talking a lot, huh?
No. Go for it. Go for it.
I listen back to these as I edit them, and I'm like, dude, you talk way too much, man. But having children or traveling and just going to have dinner in a different place and realizing that, you know, when I was in Thailand or Bali or Korea, just realizing people are just, we're different. We look different. We dress different. We talk different. But we have a lot of similarities.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I remember being in Thailand and seeing, you know, people with their children and thinking, oh, that's just like a North American dad.
Yeah.
You know, he's grabbing his kids so he doesn't run in the middle of the street. You know, they're looking for food for dinner. Like, what are we going to have for dinner? The kid's like, Daddy, I'm hungry. You know, I can't understand him, but I'm sure he's, you know, whining, Daddy, I'm hungry, you know. And people are really the same.
Yeah, I've always thought that when I was here. I think growing up in Toronto, you grow up with the different cultures. It was a very big learning. I'm very fortunate to have grown up there, but even when I moved here, I felt everyone was just the same. It's just, instead of this food, it's this food.
Yep.
You know, and it's really not that much different. And we do have more in common. You know, it's we'll see what happens. You know, unfortunately, like we need some people to stay hopeful that we can work together and make it happen.
Yeah.
But
well, that's the beauty of music and comedy and stuff like that is, you know, when you're at a show for 2 hours, like you leave the world outside. And one of the you know, I don't watch a lot of sports.
Yeah.
You know, I watch UFC. I've never paid for pay-per-view, so like I'll watch the free fights on YouTube or Rumble or something. But I haven't watched the Super Bowl or World Series, or I you know, I'm here in Japan and I've never gone to see a sumo match, you know.
Yeah.
But they've slowly but surely got politics injected into them. But music, when you go to a show like that, there's no politics, there's no nothing, you know, other than just music and people having a good time.
That said, it's the biggest problem with Japan is you have these people that hold it in for so long, and then they just explode. And there's you probably know the podcast, like it's Tokyo Speaks. Have you heard of this podcast?
I haven't. I should look it up.
Yeah, it's quite big, I think, right? But I don't remember. A really nice guy runs it, but he had this one guest that said, when Americans speak their mind, it's so we can relax our mind. And it's like, so we can relax it, but like Japanese people just hold it in, but they're raging. It's going to explode at any moment and you don't know when. And there's something, it's so true. So true. And, you know, 2 years ago, there was the guy that dressed up as Joker on the Halloween, on Halloween, and stabbed a bunch of people on the train and set fire. And when you listen to him talk, he was very honest and very calm when he said, he's like, you know, like, I lost my job. I had no friends to talk to, no one to talk to, and he's like, I didn't know where to turn to. And it's like, damn, it's like, you need to wake up, Japan, you know? And it's like, and I have this, again, this new track, you know, back to the copyright thing, right? I got flagged on SoundCloud for this, using this movie clip, but it's copyright free. It is copyright free. So I had to fight it. I got it cleared, which is great.
Good.
But the track itself is about a protest, like protest to Japan that it's okay to get mad, to relax your mind, and then you're gonna feel much better, and you're gonna create change faster. You know, the problem with our countries, you know, Canada, US, is we talk probably too much, right? We're just on the other side of it. It's just they need to talk more here. So that track is so important and so vital that they, you know, you get stuff like that, like you mentioned about Shinzo Abe being shot, like, you know, they don't have the outlets to release it. And
unless they go drinking, then you can say anything you want.
But you know, my friend, my coworker, he actually does the hotline. He does the you know, like one of those hotlines where people can just like release their stress. And, you know, the suicide hotline and stuff like that.
Well, I did a podcast with Vicky Scorgia of Tell.
Oh, okay.
Used to be Tokyo English Lifeline, now it's Tell, but they have, in Japanese, there's Inochi no Dema, which is Lifeline. So they have a couple.
So he was saying that a good majority of the callers, even though this is based in England, were Japanese, because they actually didn't know where to turn to talk to someone, and it was such an eye-opening experience. Like it was insane. So even if they do have those outlets here, it's like I wish they showed that, you know, like promoted them more. But at the same time, it's, you know, it's considered a sign of weakness in some ways here, right? So, you know, I hope they wake up. That track is probably going to be my single when I release this next EP, because it's just so on point, and it's one of those tracks that just came out like that. And Strut was like that, and those tracks are, I know they have something special to them.
That's you know, I was reading about Steve Vai. This is before the internet. He was in Guitar Magazine, and I was reading about Steve Vai, and he said that a song would come to him full blown. Start to finish, boom. And I thought, that's kind of weird. Like, how does that happen? And then I played guitar for about 10 years, and then it happened to me one day. But I've also got the piecemeal song where I'll get the bass line or the guitar part. And so as a guitarist, I write the guitar first and the melody. And I think, I got to put a bass behind this. And that's why I got a bass. And then the one compromise I do make is I make all the drums on my MacBook. But I've learned to manipulate the drummers in GarageBand, so I could add fills and, you know, drum, you know, stuff like that to make it sound like, okay, maybe there's a little bit of a drummer there, but it's 100% accurate, which that's part of the charm of the Beatles, is that they weren't like on a metronome, right? And so, in fact, they've like digitally analyzed the Beatles and found out that the Ringo Starr was not, he didn't have perfect timing. Right. But that's part of the charm.
Of
right?
course.
And a band that, you know, you're playing like Twist and Shout, and if it's like a half a beat faster at the end than the beginning, then you've got this momentum going and the crowd goes with it, right? But if it's like, you know, perfect beat through the whole thing, that kind of makes my songs a little sterile. Because it is a perfect beat and there's no variety. It's just, the volume doesn't change, right? Because a really good drummer can affect volume too, right?
Yeah, that's true. That said, you have a beat like Billie Jean or Be it where it's like just constant
A
throughout.
driving, yeah.
And then that's a track of beauty in some ways, where it's like
It's true.
the minimalist reigns supreme. You don't have to
Yeah.
add anything more or take anything out.
But it's also Michael Jackson.
Yeah. He has stellar musicians,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
But like I've going back to that, like the idea of Steve Vai, he can write a track instantly, like
Yeah.
beginning to end. But it's true. It's like this new album, I've had this one track for 14 years.
Mm.
And I feel now it's finally time to release it. I finally figured it out, the puzzle. And it took forever.
I get it.
And I'm so happy it can find its home like out there, So you never know what the timeline of a track is going to be for the most part. So but when it comes, it's great. But you can't rush something or
Well, sometimes you got to let it marinate, right?
yeah, of course.
And then, I've had songs that I've worked on for a year or two, and then I'll get the bridge, right? And basically, it's sitting around, messing around on the guitar, and like I said, a lot of my stuff is written by mistake, right? Or in the beginning, the songs that I've never recorded, but as a teenager, I think I started playing guitar at like 14 or 15, and the stuff that I wrote back then, I was trying to learn somebody else's song.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have, there was no iPod, there was none of that, no MP3s. You'd have to either listen to it on vinyl or tape, or listen to it on the radio. And I've heard other people say this, but one song would come on and you're trying to learn it, and then another song comes on and you mix the two together. Well, guess what? Now you got a different song. And so I'd be trying to play one song, and I'd make a mistake and say, oh, actually, I like that. And what does Andrew Huberman say is like, creativity is taking ideas from the known world and putting them together in novel ways that are useful. Right. And so there's only 12 notes on the chromatic scale. Right. So you can only combine them in so many ways. And there's a lot of chords, but there's only so many ways you can combine them. So, taking two songs and mixing them up and making a mistake. And then,
totally.
But I've had the songs where, because I create them in layers, like I said, the guitar and the vocal, and then the bass, and then the drums. And then since it's just me, there's no way to write a guitar solo, right? But I'll listen to the song over and over again and say, okay, here I need to put a guitar solo. And I'll start noodling around, and then it comes. And have you ever, I read a book by Pressman. Is it, I want to get this right, it's Andrew or Stephen Pressman, and he wrote a book called The War of Art.
Oh, yeah. I've actually read that. Yeah.
Great book. And he talks about the muse.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right. Yeah. I read that probably maybe last year or something.
Yeah, I just read it like maybe in the last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I don't know what it is, whether it's creativity or whether it's those 10,000 hours of practice people talk about, or if we tap into something. Sometimes I think we tap into something.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know what it is, but I don't question it anymore. I'm like, I don't know where it came from, but I've never heard this before, and I got to get it recorded before I forget it, because a song sometimes is almost like I'm remembering it.
Yeah.
Right. And then I got to record it, because if I don't use it, it's going to go away. Right. And same thing with writing, same thing with, a lot of the creative work I do, but, and then there'll be a mistake in the mixing that ends up sounding cool.
Yeah.
And then I've had songs where I got a keyboard song called Drone, where I just started out with a bass line and some drums and a beat and then a bass line. And I added a keyboard on top of that, and then I added another keyboard. And then I added some guitar and some more guitar. And there's like maybe 5 guitar tracks.
Yeah.
And there's one bass line. There's maybe 3 keyboards. But as I added stuff, it kept getting better. But then you gotta it's kind of like when you're making something in the kitchen, you're like, okay, I got some paprika, I got some pepper, I got some of this, I got some of that. Oh, I better stop. You know? Do you ever get to that point where you've made the song just about as perfect as it can get, and if you add anything else, it takes away from it?
Well, yeah, of course. Like, yeah, it's maybe it's not like just adding, but it's also like, yeah, just like maybe even if it's just a delay, like adding too much delay or too much reverb. Yeah, you can easily overthink something
Yeah.
too much, and you got to kind of let it go at a certain point. But I try to keep the tracks pretty minimum. Yeah, like all the tracks like pretty bare for the most part. Like I want to I don't want it to be like layer upon layer. I don't want it to be like these 20 tracks.
Okay.
I would love to get it down to like 7 or 8.
Okay.
Yeah, like really really basic. Because there's this one band you probably maybe you've never heard of them. They're called The Whitest Boy Alive.
No.
Never heard of them.
No.
I was just talking about them today, actually. But they are a 4-piece group, super minimal, like kind of pop funk, kind of pop funk kind of group, and they are so good at creating space, empty space that sounds full, right? I really love their sound, and I try to kind of mimic that in a lot of sense, where it's like really take a lot out, keep it really simple, but it still sounds lush, you know? And another band, of course, is Talking Heads was really good at that.
Yeah.
You know, so Stop Making Sense was very minimalist, right? And it's like I really want to keep that going. But you know, then there's some tracks like, again, the new track I have called Revolver, which is what I told you about, like the guy exploding out of nowhere, you know, and it's the protest track for Japan. And then I got the 14-year-old song, which is called Think Vast, and that's supposed to be chaotic. It's supposed to be dead silent and then chaotic later on. So essentially the idea of the track is it's pitch black, and actually you're driving in the desert of Nevada. And then you're just with your thoughts, and then slowly this light appears out of nowhere. And essentially the track's about Las Vegas, but and then your thoughts are lost, and it's just the chaos takes over and ensues, right? And then you just drive out of Las Vegas and it's back into nothingness. And it's like I really wanted to create that, so that the chaos was important, but at the beginning it has to be that minimalist kind of approach to the track. So it's very important to fill up the space with nothing and make it sound lush.
Well, that's hard.
Very hard.
Space in music is hard because as a performer, as an artist, you want to, you know, like I said, I grew up with stuff like Van Halen where it hits you, you know, right in the nose, right in the face. But to put space in there is hard. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I'm like when I played with my old kind of jam band group, I played this one venue in Cleveland, and it was a pure hair rock club, hair rock metal club.
Yeah. And
I just remember hearing like the best 20-minute version of Panama ever. Yeah, and I'm not big. I can't really can't stand hair rock.
Okay.
But it was like I loved their passion so much, and they were just so happy, and everyone got this crazy long, like it was just trading 32 bar solos after 32 bar solos.
Wow.
And it was just chaos, absolute chaos, and it was a really funny event in general, but got to really learn about a really cool scene that I never usually get to see. Cleveland, Ohio. Very,
Oh, yeah.
what a amazing,
Yeah.
amazing city.
Ohio's an interesting state.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's the Toledo Mud Hens, by the way, is an amateur baseball team,
Oh, really? Okay.
and I had a friend from the prosecutor's office when I was in Detroit, and he took us to see the Toledo Mud Hens, and it's the I know nothing about professional sports. It's going to come through here, but they are the farm team for a professional team.
Oh, okay.
Right, and there's also a amusement park in Ohio that's really amazing, and I can't even think of it, so I shouldn't even go there. But an interesting state.
It is very
Yeah.
interesting. So,
Excellent football players.
yeah.
Yeah, very tough.
Yeah, it's one of our neighboring states. You know, we got Michigan, Ohio, and I'm always blown away by it. All the cities are very different, very unique.
Really
Cincinnati's beautiful,
Yeah.
very, very beautiful, and really cool relationship they have with Kentucky. Like that, it's kind of they're bordering each other,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm always fascinated by the states because it's really 50 countries in one.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that California is the Republic of California.
Yeah.
Texas is the Republic of Texas, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's when I went through law school, that was very interesting because each state, the bar exam is different
Yeah. Yeah.
because we have different estate laws, different divorce laws, different inheritance laws, different criminal laws. And then Louisiana has French law.
Yeah.
Right? Crazy. But I remember going to what is the city? It's across the bridge from Detroit.
Windsor.
Windsor.
Yeah, Windsor. Yeah.
And I loved going there. But
Yeah.
then my friends from Canada told me that that's not the best place to go.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, it's like it wouldn't be considered, like the best place when, I guess that's my Toronto kind of smug attitude. It's like we're not looking highly at like London, Ontario, Windsor, Ontario,
Okay.
Paris. Ontario is nothing like Paris.
So this is funny. I had a chance to go to London.
I'm sure it's beautiful though.
It's great. Well, especially if you go from Detroit to Windsor,
yeah, I
it's
think
heaven.
I think that's really it. I think it's really the contrast
Yeah.
going from, the border, the Detroit border when you're dropped in it's pretty rundown. It's pretty ghetto
Yeah.
in that area. It's not a really, hey, welcome to America, inviting like,
We're really not putting our best foot
Yeah.
forward there.
like when it's the Quebec and Vermont border, however, it's absolutely beautiful. It's amazing. It's really amazing. Or you have like New Brunswick and Maine,
Okay.
and that's really beautiful. But Niagara Falls, Buffalo, and Windsor, Detroit.
Contrast. Yeah.
It's like you're not getting the creme de la creme.
No, we're not putting our best foot forward there. Like it should be inverted. Like Texas should be on the border. You can go to a city like Austin and see amazing music and comedy.
Yeah,
and,
I'm down with that. But
Yeah.
but Buffalo especially is that love-hate relationship city. Like I've seen so many concerts there, amazing venues. It really is a historical city. It's just a little bit run down here and there. But yeah, it's always been kind of the sister city of Toronto in some ways.
Okay.
I feel.
So during law school, I had a chance to go to London. And the funny thing is, so we had a negotiation competition, which is where they give you a fact pattern, and then you try to negotiate the best outcome for your client, that your imaginary client that you're representing, right? And they said the winner of the school competition got to go to London. I said, I've never been to England.
yeah.
But all they said is, well, the winner's going to go to London. I was like, I want to go to England. So we prepared like crazy. This buddy of mine, Wayne, he's a really cool dude.
Yeah.
So prepared, ex-military. He just like, and we prepared like it was boot camp, and he was really sharp, dude.
And then it was London, Ontario.
And it was London, Ontario. And so we drove up there, and it was fun.
Yeah.
We had fun, and I just remember, so I don't drink, so I was the designated driver.
Yeah.
And the bartender was so cool. He's like, yeah, man, the DD gets free coffee.
Yeah.
The designated driver. And I was like, well, I just don't drink. I'm not sacrificing
Yeah.
anything because I'm not going to drink anyway. But I got free coffee. You know? And then the people we took with us, like my partner in the negotiation team, he didn't get. I think he had like one beer, but one of the women we took with us got like blind drunk, and I just remember being in the bar and everybody's drunk, and I'm like, well, okay. But no, London was cool.
Yeah. No,
London was cool, and coming from Detroit, it was just a cool town, a good drive.
You know, that said, I was talking with my coworker today about Detroit.
Okay.
And it seems like I would love to go back there. I know they've cleaned up quite a lot. I think they've went through a lot of the rough, you know, they went through the rough part. They've restored a lot of the area, kind of brought it back to life after, I guess, the automotive industry like just completely crashed there, right? So I would really love to go back. I love all, you know, I love going to the States because it's, again, the history, you know, the unfortunately, like you know, it's literally also black and white, you know, but that could be you know, but you know, you literally just go on this side of the tracks and you have to really watch yourself.
You gotta, exactly.
But overall, people are really nice. People are really kind.
They are,
and I feel bad for the States. Sometimes they get a bad rap, you know, like, oh, Canadians are kind and Americans aren't. I'm like, well, you know, we've done a lot of crap things in our past too. You know, it's like, I don't like to, you know, put that all in the States or anything.
Well, you know, it's funny because if you look back far enough, everybody's done something.
Everyone's done
pretty
something
nasty.
really bad.
Yeah. And it's just that certain things get focused on more, and that's, you know, it is what it is, I guess. But, you know, Detroit is making a comeback. I mean, some major companies have invested.
Yeah.
I was there in the early 2000s for law school and then an internship in the prosecutor's office, and would drive from the suburb, and Detroit's like a donut, right? So you drive through hell, and then you get downtown, and there's the GM building, and there's the hockey arena. I mean, if you want to see sports, Michigan's the place. Detroit is the place to do it. And you have Michigan State, you have University of Michigan, you have the Pistons, you have the Red Wings, you have the Lions, you know, and the Tigers. Yeah. I was just afraid I was going to miss somebody, but there's so much sports going on. And a Detroit basketball game is a mind-blowing experience. Yeah. Oh my gosh, the crowd gets so crazy, and they have these propane fires, and the announcer yells Detroit, the crowd yells basketball, and the place goes insane. And on game day, everybody's wearing their Red Wings jerseys. You go into Meijer to go shopping, that's the local grocery store, and everybody's wearing a Red Wings jersey, and you know it's game day, you know, and man, they love their sports.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And so many smart people, just absolutely mind-blowing intelligent people because of the automotive industry. They're engineers, they're smart. I went to a friend's barbecue, and he had built this game, and they have a name for it, and they sell it commercially now, but it was a thing where they had like 3 racks and then 2 tennis balls on a rope, and you would try to make the tennis ball on a string like hang on one of the racks, and the name they gave it was Balls on You, right? Because it was using 2 tennis balls. I didn't know, but now it's sold commercially. But he built his own set, so that's like, just imagine somebody building their own pinball machine. It's like, the guy was just freaking brilliant, and he met his wife on a car forum. Because she had asked, like, oh, I got this car, and he didn't realize he was talking to a woman. She's like, yeah, I'm trying to rebuild the carburetor, but I'm getting stuck here. And he's like, oh, here's how you do it, you know. And she's like, wow, that's really cool. By the way, where do you live? Oh, I live here. Oh, I live here too. And they ended up getting together. They ended up getting married.
Wow.
But both of them absolutely brilliant engineers. and so many smart people. It's just crazy. That state has, or that city has gone through so much crap.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really want to see it make a resurgence, because that was the premier city of America.
Yeah,
I can't even talk. I mean, I keep saying
there's a lot of cities you hope that for,
right?
You know, like you just want to see them come out on top, like whether it's Chicago or Detroit,
Philadelphia.
I love Philadelphia very much. Baltimore is beautiful, and it's like, yeah, you want to hear the happy ending for them, you know, because
you really do. Yeah,
it's just the rich history, the culture is just so incredible. And
I didn't even mention the music in Detroit.
Oh yeah.
Well, first of all, techno comes from Detroit, right? And Motown, obviously, Motown music, that whole thing that completely changed music. You know, techno changed the world, Motown changed the world, and the Fox Theater. I saw. I know I'm going to forget his name. He's the guy that sang "You're Beautiful." You're beautiful.
Yeah. James
Blunt.
James Blunt.
I remember it had something to do with pot.
Yeah.
James Blunt. I saw him at the Fox Theater in downtown Detroit. Incredible theater.
Yeah. I've seen pictures of it.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely incredible venue. And there's not a bad seat in the place. You could sit anywhere in there and have absolutely perfect acoustics. Like the way that was built was just incredible.
Yeah.
So
a lot of beautiful venues in the States.
Yeah.
I'd love to hit up. Yeah.
Yeah. And as a fan of music and as a musician, like I'd like to play there, but I'd like to go to a show there.
Yeah, of course.
You know? Yeah. What about a place like Las Vegas? Would you play Las Vegas?
I would play anywhere. Okay. I would. Yeah, I'm up for any. Like I care just really about the atmosphere, and I just don't want to play any place now. Like when I started playing this music, I played every single place. I'll try like a cafe. I'll try this. I'm just trying to figure out where do I best fit. All these music venues, the live houses that are called here, and now I'm at the point where I can be picky, and I want that ambiance. I want that atmosphere, because that's where my music's going to shine more. And so I want to be picky. That's why I only do shows in Tokyo once every 3 months, 2 months.
Okay.
Just because I want to really prepare for them.
Yeah.
I want to really think about the set. I want to really create something special. I want people to be like wanting it more. But if I'm playing like twice a month, I can lose that charm to it. You know, so it's a very important thing. So Vegas, I know nothing about about the music scene, like except for Celine Dion and Elton John doing their rounds. You know,
can do a residency there.
Yeah,
but live there. Yeah,
but it's like I'm sure they got a unique like underground scene.
I'm sure they do.
So.
Every city has a cool scene. Like LA has a scene. New York has a different scene. You know, but what was different about the show I saw last week was that people who came stayed for all acts.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Because I played these shows. Maybe it's because it's a bringer show or a live house where you have to sell your own tickets and stuff. But people will come in and see the first band, and you're so stoked because you're the second act, and the place is crowded. But as soon as the first band ends, half the crowd leaves because they only came to see him.
That was that's what New York felt like for me. Yeah, it's like New York's was the hardest city I've ever played. Boston was fantastic.
Boston loves entertainment, though. I mean, a lot of comedians come out of Boston.
Yeah.
A lot.
They really appreciate it. But no, you know what? That crew, the More Than Music crew that are creating all these events, they're really working hard at it. You know, they're creating that subscription model, and
smart model, by the way.
Yeah, they want to just make it affordable for people and give venues a lot of people so they can enjoy it. So like it's a win-win for everyone, and they really care about the lineup, and they also know me very well, so they know I don't want I'm going to be very picky about shows
Yeah.
now because you know, I've done anything they asked me to do before, and it was weird mixed lineups, and I won't do that anymore with my music. And I actually play bass for this this R&B singer named Aphrodite. She's amazing. She's from Atlanta, actually, and she's now at the phase where she's just like, I want to play anywhere and just figure it out. But now she's at a point, I feel, where it's like, nah, we got to give you proper sound and proper musicians to play with.
Yeah.
Because you're way better than that.
That's a good place to be where you can start to be picky.
Yeah. And she's ready for it. She just doesn't know it. So yeah.
So speaking of that, that's I don't think everybody deals with it. I think some people are just like, I just want to perform, you know, and I don't care where. But others like have, you know, stage fright or anxiety or self-confidence, or in the professional world, we call it imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember the first time I was in a board meeting, you know, as a member of the board of directors of a corporation. And I thought, what am I doing here? Have you ever dealt with that, or is that just not an issue for you?
What, just like just being nervous?
Just being like, you know, oh man, this venue's too cool for me, or you know, or even like stage fright or anything. Or if it's not an issue, no big deal. But
no. I'm just like, it's more like I'm excited. I'm like, all right, let's do this.
Let's do it. Okay, that's cool.
Let's fucking do it.
That's cool. That's cool.
And I'm always nervous. Every show I'm nervous.
Well, yeah.
But I think that's a beautiful thing. I like that. But I'm very excited to play new places, new stages, and it's very, very like it's like, okay, Alan, it's like time to step it up. Well, like, let's go.
Mike Tyson was nervous.
Yeah,
stepping into the ring. I mean, and he's an assassin, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, he destroyed like, you know, dozens of people in a row. So yeah. There's always that nervous feeling. I remember a couple of times, and you always get better doing a show, right? Like I remember it kind of solidified because this is a crazy thing. Living in Japan, practicing guitar, I didn't want to blow out my hearing, so I would play my electric guitar with no amplifier. And if anybody who knows guitar, you can't hear an electric guitar very well unless it's got an amplifier, right? So my attack and my fingering got so strong. And so when we went to play a show, we played at the Pit Inn in Roppongi. And people were commenting like, oh, your playing is so aggressive. Like your attack, your solos were just like, everything was so spot on. It was kind of almost like intimidating. And I was like, well, and I didn't know why. I thought I was just adrenaline, right? But it was because I practiced with no amp.
Yeah.
And I had to play really hard and really attack to hear it. So when I played with an amp, it was like extra crazy.
Yeah.
And then the adrenaline comes in.
Yeah.
But then there's it usually took me 2 songs till I would get into a groove. You know, so the first song had to be like just a banger where you can just like jam, just a couple of power chords.
Yeah.
And then you can get into Rush or something like that.
I see.
Where it's got 20 chords and 3 tempo changes. You know? But and I always found after a show, I always got better.
Of course. It's well, yeah. It's your class.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like 20 days of practice, or I don't know how many, you know, a month of practice versus one live show, I would improve with the live show.
Yeah. There's nothing like it. I always tell people my show is my practice more than anything. And you're gonna do it with me. The audience is gonna do it with me.
Do you ever? So I've heard comedians describe a show that they do, you know, specifically Joe Rogan. You can tell I listen to every podcast, every episode of Joe Rogan. I think I was just listening to it today, actually. Ari Shaffir was on there, and who I met in person. He's a hilarious dude. I met him before he blew up, and oh my gosh, like I got a picture with him, and I'm so glad I did, because like it was, 10, 12 years ago, you know, but he talks about a show where you're taking these people on a journey. It's almost like group hypnosis. Do you ever feel like you're...
Yeah, oh yeah. I've definitely,
Doing
yeah,
that?
100%. 100%. I really feel like it.
It's almost like the audience has to buy into what you're doing,
Well,
and you win them over, and then you can take them on this journey, right?
yeah, but also it's like, yeah, you have to win them over and then you have to be, yeah, and then you become one with each other.
Yes.
It's, and the biggest problem I've always had with shows in Japan actually is just the crowd. And it's just, they're so silent, and it's like, but when it does hit, when it really hits home, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So the show that I always think about is post-rock shows are really great here.
Okay.
But like bands like Explosions in the Sky, have you ever
Okay.
heard of them?
I don't know.
They're from Texas.
Okay.
They came here and the crowd was so involved. It really felt like they were one. The crowd was the member, and there are some really good post-rock hardcore bands in Japan that are amazing.
Well,
really
the
amazing. But
level of musicianship is incredible here.
yeah, it's just it's really high. They're very technical. The only problem is a lot of them are very contrived at the same time, and they're like, this is hardcore music, or it's this funk. This is how you play funk. And I'm like, no, you're missing the point if you think that way. So it's like, when you do find that band where it's like, it's their own voice, their real own voice speaking out, then you got some magic.
Let me look up a band. There's a band I'm following on Instagram, and I want to say... High Fade. These guys are insanely good. High Fade music. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description.
Yeah.
These guys play funk.
Yeah.
And they're I'm gonna get this all wrong. I think they're Scottish, and they are insanely good. And I just started following them on Instagram because I saw something and I was like, God, that guy's a good guitar player. That guy's freaking insane. And it's one of those guitar players where you see him and you can't understand what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite guitar players of all time is John Scofield.
Okay.
Do you know John Scofield?
I don't.
No.
As a guitar player, I should know guitar players, right?
He's a jazz guitar player.
Okay.
Mainly. And he plays with this acid jazz group called Medeski, Martin and Wood.
Okay.
And together they are the ultimate. But John Scofield has the most unique. You think he's out of tune, and you think he's lazy. Like his notes are he plays these like perfected lazy notes, and I don't know how to do it. It sounds like the notes are drunk.
John Scofield. Okay.
And you know, if you want to start, you should start with Uber Jam.
Uber Jam. Okay.
Or I forget the name, Agogo something. I think it's something Agogo, but
Uber Jam. Okay.
He makes notes sound drunk, and then together, you got it. You got it. So you want to listen to like Uber Jam or Agogo, and when you listen to, I don't know how he does it. It's just like so on time. His technique is so flawless, and it's so original. And you'll never hear a tone like him, and you'll never hear playing like him. Like you can tell him from a mile away. Yeah.
I love those musicians like a Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
Or somebody like that you just hear one lick and you know that's Jeff Beck.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know that's Scofield. You know that's Van Halen. You know that's Tony McAlpine or something.
Yeah. So he's for me it would be like, for bass that would be Les Claypool. I'm a very big Les Claypool fan. So
how about Pino Palladino?
He's amazing. I just don't know enough about
him. He was in the John Mayer trio.
Yeah. I love that album.
Try.
Yeah. It's Continuum. That's the name of
Is
the
that,
album.
yeah.
I love it. Yeah, it was Brian Blade, I think, on drums, and Pino Palladino. That's how I learned about him. But like,
Okay.
again, it's I'm a bass player that doesn't care to be like I'm not big into the technical or that kind of bass player. Like I've always been into Les Claypool's very technical,
Okay.
but I love him for his creativity and his approach to stepping out of a genre and creating
Okay.
your own thing.
So you probably wouldn't be a big Billy Sheehan fan.
No,
From
no,
Mr. Big,
no.
yeah.
You know what? He would be the opposite
The
of what I
opposite,
look
yeah.
for. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just I understand why people like it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just not what I would approach
Okay.
bass. Like I would be more interested into kind of what are good examples. Again, I mentioned Michael Jackson, of course.
Yeah.
And who else? Yeah, who are like
You know, the bass lines in the 80s were so good. And the
Yeah.
saxophone and stuff. It's just like so much good music. But
it's a good question. I don't even know. I don't think I really ever had like bass
Okay.
heroes. I've just had musician heroes.
okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or bands. So my bass style, I end up coming up with pretty cool bass, even though I'm not mainly a bass player. One song I wrote called "To See You." It's got a really cool bass in there, and I always tell people listen to it with headphones. And they're like, "Oh, who's playing that? That's really cool." It's like, that was me. But I think I probably don't approach bass with the reverence it should be approached with. I approach it from a guitar player,
Yeah, got it.
you know, and I think a like a dyed in the wool bass player would be like, dude, you're not doing it right. But it sounds cool,
Yeah.
you know. And actually, one of my songs has a bass solo because I had an acoustic guitar and I didn't have an electric guitar, but there was a part in there that was screaming for a solo. So I started like finger tapping on the bass. Like, you know, why not? Because what music is supposed to break boundaries, right? So, but yeah, I probably don't approach it the right way, but I love playing bass. I love the sound. I love when it meshes with the guitar and when it hits a groove with the drums. You can't live without it. I mean, you got to have bass.
Totally,
right?
totally. It's you know what? Now, come to think of it, all the bass players I really love are actually all keyboardists
Oh,
in a lot of ways. Yeah, so it's like a Bernie Worrell or like Neil Evans is
Okay.
he's the keyboardist for Soul Live,
okay.
a funk jazz group, and he was the funkiest guy. So a lot of it was really funk oriented and
Okay.
reggae oriented.
How about a Geddy Lee?
I love Geddy Lee, but it's just so
But he's not
not me.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and but that's okay. That's kind of what Les Claypool taught me. It's like I will never be Les Claypool.
Yeah.
He's a nut on the bass.
Yeah.
But he had this quote, you know, to defy the laws of tradition is a crusade only of the brave. And you know, he's really that. So I'm not looking to be anyone but myself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I found what my absolute niche is, but you know, some of those keyboard bass players, man, they really lay it down thick. So I've always loved the tone of them.
Yeah.
So and I guess that's why reggae always made sense to me as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of my bass lines, even in these ambient trip hop tracks, are very, they have to be smooth like butter. There's not going to be a lot of distorted basses or anything like that, but it's got to always sound warm, you know, and that's because that's how I want my bass to sound.
I like a 60s London feel, you know. Not distorted. Not like you know, nothing distorted, but more like you would hear You know, I can't even describe it, but it, like you said, smooth as butter. It's got a bass. Has got to
butter.
be. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the best kind of bass, right?
That's right.
I mean, I do like some slap bass. I like funk. I like who's the bass player for Level 42?
I don't know.
That guy, I think his name is Mark. Absolutely insane. He's singing one melody, but he's playing a completely different thing on the bass. They have a song called "Heaven in My Hands," and when you hear it, I'm sure they did it in the studio, and he was playing the bass, and then he sang. But he's such a good bass player, and he's playing this and then he's singing over that. I don't know how he's like another creature. It's like
yeah. That's Primus is like that. Yeah, and I don't know how they do it. I have no idea.
Yeah. And I as a guitar player, when I play live, I just watched an old video of mine I put on YouTube. Embarrassing. And every guitar player has like one rhythm that they strum when they don't know what to do. You know, dun 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 dun. And I get into that sometimes, and it's just so embarrassing because like I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. I cannot sing and play guitar at the same time. But I think getting out of that is a good thing to try to do.
No, totally.
But that's why I'll record guitar and vocals separately, because then I can focus. Okay, I'm playing guitar.
Of course.
But then you don't get that thing like, you know, when the Beatles recorded their albums up until I think Sgt. Pepper's, I think they're in the studio together.
Yeah.
Right.
That was one of my first albums with my old band. It was all of us we recorded it in 2 days.
Oh man.
9 tracks and very raw. Very, very raw, and it comes out. You can hear it.
I love that. So a band that can sound as good without all the backing tracks and without all the electronics behind them. I saw Green Day live. Just 3 guys making a lot of freaking noise. And I forget which tour it was. I think it was Dookie, where they played Basket Case. Oh my gosh. 3 guys just jamming in like a garage punk band. And it was so good. And to me, and they sounded, if not just as good, they sound better live, because it's got that energy, and Billy's up there just jumping around, and you know. So a band that can sound as good live as they do on the record is pretty hard to do, unless it's something like that.
Yeah,
and it's just jamming, just rocking, you know. So it's hard to do. But so what's next?
What's next?
Yeah, you're releasing an album.
Yeah, it'll be this tour.
Okay.
Which will go till September.
Okay.
And then gonna release an album hopefully October, November.
Okay.
After that, pretty much, good question. I don't know. That's gonna keep me quite busy, and then I'll plan something for like a tour for the album or something like that. Okay. And that's pretty much it.
Cool.
Continue, rinse, and repeat. The life of a musician.
Exactly. And social media, what's the best place for somebody to follow you?
Just if you type in Demsky Music.
Okay.
If you type in Demsky, you're either going to find me, a graffiti artist, or my brother. My brother has like his own line of clothing. So
okay.
He's doing good.
Follow both of these guys.
Yeah, he's a good man. So again, any one of those 3, I fully support.
Demsky, Demsky.
SKY. Yeah.
Demsky. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And I found you on SoundCloud. I think you sent me the link.
Yes.
So if I were to go to SoundCloud and type in Demsky, I'd find you.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's like SoundCloud.Demsky.
Yeah, right? So, SoundCloud.com/Demsky.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, this has been a blast.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Anything else you want to shout out?
No, just go out there and have fun and progress and create.
Love it. All right. Thanks a million.
Simple. Thank you.